What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Lawson, and this week we're going to be diving into some of the comments that have been left on some of the videos. Now, I know I'm not the best at responding, but I do read them, and there's always some good stuff left behind. So we're going to go through some of these videos and pick out some questions and comments and see what you guys had to say. Alright guys, before we get too far into it, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe and notification button because we do put out videos every week and we don't want you to miss a one. And if you're new here, we've got a whole slew of videos involving critiques, tips and techniques, and just a bunch of overall cool tattoo content. But for now, let's get into some of these comments. And the first one says, I have seen a lot of when people don't wrap the cord. I think it is just a personal choice. You can put it around your neck or just keep it off the tattoo. And even if it does touch, 100% proof alcohol will kill pretty much anything that it gets on. Well, this is gross for a few reasons, and let me tell you why. Number one, alcohol does not kill everything, including hepatitis. And in the tattoo world, this is one of the most commonly transmitted diseases. A disease like this can be easily prevented by just wrapping your cord. It's not that hard. I have seen a handful of artists wrap their cord around their neck to prevent it from rubbing on the client, but again, I think that's just gross. Your cord has been dragging on the floor all day long and across clients' bodies and a bunch of other places that you don't want to transmit it onto your own body. Now granted, you should be wiping down your cord after each session regardless, but that is still not going to kill every single microscopic organism. Those cords just sit around in your station collecting dust and debris all day. They're not clean. And if something so simple as wrapping your cord can prevent diseases, then I would just wrap your cord. That's not really something anybody should be arguing about. It's a simple fix and those things are cheap, so there really is no reason that you shouldn't wrap your cord. Safety first, kids. Alright, the next comment is from Ploopy Fudgewink. And Ploopy says, bruh, how old are you? I know this is off topic, but there was a video where you said you've been tattooing for over 2 decades. And I've been thinking you were in your late 20s. Surprisingly, I couldn't find this info online. Well, that's good that you can't creep online, so thank you, Norton, or whoever is keeping me protected. And apparently this is a common question because another one sent in from DrKlaja says, man, how old are you? You look really young, but you also speak with a certain level of finesse that I can only identify with someone who has a lot of experience, i.e. an older gentleman. Are you a vampire or something? Well, to answer your question, yes. Yes, I am a vampire. I am 36 years young, and I've been tattooing for about 22 years. I first started tattooing at 14 years old and got into my first tattoo studio at 17. I technically wasn't even supposed to be tattooed in there, let alone work there. But thank you, I'd like to think it's my vegan regimen and my banana face lotion. Alright, the next comment is sent in from Lorena Florentina. And Lorena, you said, oh wow, you are an exceptional tattoo artist, and yet your body is covered as if it were a school bench behind a classroom. Fair enough. Well, you aren't wrong. This is obviously in reference to the tattoo tour in which I share with you all of my tattoos. And boy, I've got some bad ones. A lot of my tattoos are from friends or from people who don't really know how to tattoo at all. But I think that's the fun part about it. Most of my tattoos are for the memories. And as I said in that video, they're kind of like a timestamp. You remember exactly what you were doing in your life when you got that tattoo. A lot of the other tattoos I have are ones I did myself when I didn't have anybody else to tattoo. Or I'd get a new tattoo machine in the mail and I wanted to see how it felt. I would just hold up my leg and run some lines. A lot of really good tattooers I know have absolutely terrible work on them. That's just how it goes. And you know what? I'm not done getting crappy ones either. I love them. Alright, the next comment is sent in from ExtraPulpyJoosh. And Josh says, I'd love to see some episodes of exclusively shit tattoos. Then you'd still have to pick a best tattoo out of them. You know what? I really like this idea. As a matter of fact, you guys should send in some of your really poorly done tattoos for me to critique. I think that would be a swell idea. So if you guys have some bad tattoos that you'd like to see critiqued on this series, send them to the email below. That's ponycritiques@gmail.com. Make sure you label it My Toilet Tattoo. If you know, you know. The next comment is from Lola, and Lola asked, you said lighter washes go in easier if you go slowly. Would your voltage also be very low when doing this? Well, Lola, I have a rule of thumb that I try to keep my voltage as low as possible while matching my hand speed. What Lola is referring to is the speed of the machine and how fast the needle goes in and out of the tip of the cartridge. Although it's not always true, in this case, voltage equals speed. And a huge problem I see with most tattooers is they like to crank up their machine really high because they think they're going to make their work a lot faster, when in actuality that's working in a counterproductive manner. You actually need to give the proper time to allow that ink to deposit into the skin. If you're moving too fast, you're not allowing the ink to do its job. When it comes to lighter washes, you don't have many particles to thicken up the ink. It's pretty thin, so it doesn't take much effort to put that ink into the skin. So my suggestion would be to turn down your voltage and slow down your hand speed. I promise you this will help with your saturation and also not allow your tattoos to become so red, as you're not putting the skin through as much trauma. Thank you, Lola, I hope this helps. Next comment from Ethan Slapp. Probably a random question. What size are your ears? What does it look like to you, about 3 inches? I'm guessing he's referring to my plugs, which are about an inch or 25 millimeters. I hope that helps. Next comment is from Ismail. Ismail, you says, could you please make at least one episode featuring Poch? I love watching the two of you at Inked. Well, I do have some pretty big plans for Poch and myself, even though he might not be aware of it. Poch is one of my favorite people on the planet. And if you're unfamiliar with who Poch is, he is a tattooer out of Redlands, California. Him and I have actually done several Inked magazine videos together, and I'll link one of these spots. Not only is he an amazing artist and a great person, but the dude is hilarious, and I hope to have him on a future series. So Poch, if you see this, hit me up. We've got some planning to do. Another comment from Ryan says, would you consider digging up your older tattoos and doing self-critiques on them? It would be a good insight to see what you did or what you wished you learned earlier, or explain some techniques that you learned along the way that bumped up your skills. And it lets us see more of your killer art. And send my love to your editor. No. Ryan gets no praise here. This is not his series, okay? As a matter of fact, during this studio transition, I stumbled across a bunch of my old work. So we actually had some plans to kind of do just that. It'll probably be a little cringy, but I think it will be super fun to share with you guys my journey and some of the things I've picked up along the way. I know I mainly focus on micro-portraits now, but that's not what got me here. I have a pretty vast background with all sorts of styles, and I don't plan on doing those micros forever. I'm constantly trying to evolve and experiment and do new things. So I do look forward to doing some self-critiques here in the near future. So thanks for dropping that comment. A comment sent in from Devin H says, I love to watch the whole process of your work. One question, do you prefer the liner wand or the shader wand? Well, Devin, that's two totally different tools, so it really depends on the job at hand. One is clearly for lining, while the other is clearly for, well, shading. The liner wand I like to use in areas that are generally solid black or need to be very crisp. As that liner has one heck of a punch, it leaves for nice crisp edges and very black saturated areas. And when it comes to the shader wand, it's not going to leave you with near as crisp edges as the liner would. The shader wand is obviously made for larger areas of smooth shades, whereas the liner wand, it would be a lot more difficult to achieve some of those smoother shades as it has a lot longer stroke. So honestly, I like them both. It just depends on the job at hand. A comment from Ryan King says, without the magic of editing, how long does a tattoo like this usually take? So this is obviously in response to the Gwen Stefani process video, and I believe that tattoo took roughly 6 hours if I'm not mistaken. Most of my micro portraits actually take around 4 to 6 hours. It just generally depends on what kind of detail is in them. If they have lots of hair or a furry coat, it's going to take me quite a bit longer than somebody with no hair and no clothes. Another question from the same video is from Alena, and Alena, you said, could you please tell me how many tones of gray wash you use for this masterpiece? Well, thank you very much. I generally set out around 5 tones of black for each tattoo I do. My first cap is going to be solid black. My next cap after that is going to be about 75 to 80% black, with the rest being water. My third cap will be about half black, half water. My fourth cap will be about 5 drops black, with the rest being water, and my last cap is about 2 drops black, with the rest being water. You can play around with those ratios, making your tattoos darker or a bit lighter, but this is generally how I set up my wash system. Thanks a lot. Next comment on the same video from Rachel says, I learned so much. Anyone know where to find the movies frame-by-frame resource he was talking about? Alright, so 2 references I use are fancaps and moviescreencaps.com. Both of those websites break down movies in their entirety to frame-by-frame sequence. Unfortunately, it doesn't have every movie in there, and I do use more than one source, but hopefully this will give you a place to start. Websites like these are great because it helps your tattoos become just a little more unique, rather than using the same rehashed Google search. So give it a try and hopefully find some good stuff. A comment from Wayne says, I don't understand why you still make bad quality line art stencils when you've got access to a printer capable of printing the actual photo as a stencil with all the shades. Is a photo harder to use than a stencil? To be honest, yes, I think a photo is a lot harder than using a stencil. So if you use a fully rendered picture as your stencil, chances are you're going to be wiping away those lighter areas a lot faster than you would the darker areas, because those lighter areas are hardly saturated with any ink. I like my stencils to stick around as long as possible, and generally the darker areas stick around the longest. So I actually had to have an app developed myself because what I wanted wasn't really out there. Sure, you could get this done, but you'd likely have to use a computer or multiple steps to make the same process happen. If you use this app, you can do it in one click. So if you're a tattooer, you can check out my app on the App Store. Just search Tattoo Stencil app. Thank you for the question, Wayne. Alright, the next comment is from Forever. And Forever, you commented, do you think one day you'd make a video giving advice on the best ways to go about getting an apprenticeship in the industry? Do's and don'ts for portfolio, and how to approach a shop with your work, etc. So I think if you're in the market for an apprenticeship, the best thing would be for you to do is to build up your art portfolio. that's not making tattoos, because if you walk into a tattoo shop for an apprenticeship, they don't want to see that you have prior knowledge to making tattoos. A lot of tattoo shops turn down folks who have already started to tattoo as they develop bad habits, and they don't really want to take the time to reverse those. So you want to build up a good art portfolio. You obviously want this portfolio to be as clean as possible and not messy. You don't want to come in with a folder filled with a bunch of loose pages of random drawings. You want to put something together that's very nice and easy to open and read. A nice binder or art folio works great, and you could pick either one of those up from your local art store. So another thing is persistence. A lot of these tattoo shops or tattooers don't want to give away their apprenticeships right off the bat. You should be going back over and over again with new art in your portfolio. You want to show them that you have the passion and you have what it takes to become a tattooer. Mentors want somebody who's open to learn and who's hungry. Show them that you've learned something from the first time that you show them your drawings to the third time that you show them your drawings. You have to stand out from everybody else who's showing up at their door. And there's so many good artists out there nowadays that you really have to set yourself apart. We want to see you and your work in person. Don't ever call. It's one of the laziest things you can do. And don't get discouraged if you do get turned down. Sometimes tattooers just don't have the space or time. And if this is something that you're truly passionate about, but isn't happening in the town that you're in, you're gonna have to make some moves. Get out of the town or travel and do something to show these tattooers that you really want this. I realize it's probably harder now than ever to get an apprenticeship, but it is possible. I know it sounds cliche, but if some young, dumb kid from a town of 3,000 can make it out and make it happen, so can you. Again, you just really have to make some sacrifices if this is something you want. Thanks forever. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for this video, and I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you'd like to see more videos like this, or have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments below. And once again, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends. And until next week, see ya!